Good evening and welcome to my channel. My name is David Okon and I've been talking about Jeff Bezos of Amazon. Amazon is where you shop online. If you're in the UK, if you're in America, you shop on Amazon. Amazon is one of the biggest, probably the biggest online platform. You buy your stuff from there. You buy whatever you like. So it's a great place to shop. It's owned by Jeff Bezos. I talk about Jeff Bezos because Jeff Bezos is very rich, and the rest of the world is very very poor. So there is always a comparison and contrasting. The very very rich is the third richest man on earth, multi-billionaire, is actually worth in millions of US dollar, in billions, so to speak. It is worth in hundreds of billions of US dollar. Jeff Bezos is worth that much money. And the rest of us are actually working our way towards becoming somebody and something. The first task for the majority of the world, in my opinion, is to get out of poverty first. Get out of poverty if you're poor. And I already said, if you work for a living, the most likely you are going to be poor. I risk offending people, calling them poor. People don't want to be names. If they're rich, they don't want to be referred to as rich. If they're poor, they don't want to be referred to as poor. But a lot of poor people actually live in denial, saying they are not poor. A lot of rich people also live in denial, saying they are not rich. Human nature, probably. But the truth is out there. If you think you're rich, leave a comment below. If you think you're poor, leave a comment below. If you watch this video, please like and subscribe for more of the same or similar, and click the notification bell to make sure you don't miss anything. Leave a comment below so that I get the right feedback. And if you think you're rich, leave a comment below, let me know. If you think you're poor, leave a comment below, let me know. And the cost of living, to my mind, is actually to do with poverty. If people were rich, they wouldn't have the cost of living. You would not be actually suffering the cost of living at all. If you are rich, rich people do not suffer the cost of living as a crisis. Cost of living is important because it is a crisis. Otherwise, the cost of living is normal. It has always been normal. It has always been there. People have always experienced it, rich and poor alike. But now, because there are a lot of changes in the political and economic system, and we can only say safely that the cost of living is a symptom of political and economic changes happening at a structural level. Capitalism has actually gone from soft capitalism to more actually ultra capitalism, where the state intervene in certain ways, and in my opinion, in also with some evidence, if not really loads and loads of evidence actually out there, showing that every time the government intervene to support the economy, it actually levels up, it levels wealth, and it levels favor, it levels opportunity up. There's something within the conservative circle and policy and prospects. They talk of leveling up. There is actually a department of leveling up in Britain, in the UK, leveling up. The government has set a full department. There's also a shadow office for leveling up. And leveling up, leave a comment below if you know what leveling up means. I don't know what it means at all. But what I think leveling up is actually, it means taking money from the poor and giving it to the rich. It's like Robin Hood upside down. Robin Hood was the prince of thieves who stole money from the rich and gave it to the poor. The Conservative Party, leveling up, is stealing money from the poor and giving it to the rich. It's the opposite of Robin Hood. The thief or prince, as he was in Robin Hood, Robin Hoodian, the prince of the Sherwoods in Nottingham. He used to live in Nottingham in North England. Was Robin Hood. And so now the Conservative Party, Rishi Sunak, is actually the prince of, I don't know who he is the prince of. I think he's the prince of thieves as well, who steals from the poor and gives to the rich. He is mimicking the prince of thieves, the historical legend, Robin Hood, who stole from the rich and gave to the poor. Rishi Sunak steals from the poor and gives to the rich. And that is capitalism, the excellence of capitalism for the rich. The rich are actually smiling all the way to the bank. Money is overflowing throughout. I mean, their pocket is actually full of wealth. They speak money. They see stars, money, everything. That is capitalism. What we have now, capitalism under the Conservative Party. Extreme right-wing politics and economic system. So we have cuts in public services. We have actually a starving of public infrastructure, the disallowing of actually providing public service. It's happening under the auspices of the Conservative Party, having ruled this country for over 12 years, and having pushed the political spectrum to the far right, extreme right-wing politics. They talk about immigration, even if there is no issue at all to do with immigration. Political opportunism, especially during election when they are trailing in the polls. That's what the Conservatives do. They always fall back on false allegation of crime. The police are giving unnecessary power to stop and search on the street. They target certain individuals. They practice racism. They hide behind funny racism. They are not even racist. The Conservative Party are not racist. They are political engineers pretending to be racist. And we fall for it as a country. We think black people are the problem. They're trying to come and take our wealth. Every time you talk about racism, immigration, British people think about black people, illegal immigrant criminals. They think of white people who are actually foreign, like the East Europeans, the Arabs. I don't know what color the Arabs are, the Indians, the Pakistani. Are they black or white? Leave a comment below if you think they are white or black. But there's a black problem in the world. In Britain, in the white country, in the black country. People don't like black people because they think black people are thieves. They are violent. They are opportunistic. They are poor. They are coming to take wealth from Europe, from America. And in Africa, the same way. Black people are not accepted in Africa either. Because they're, I mean, if you're poor, black people are very poor proportionately. If you want to know what the poorest people, go to Africa if you want to see poverty. I don't know why black people are so poor. And we live in a world, if you're poor, even your wife, even your husband is going to leave you. Your children are going to run away. We live in a world where do not be poor. If you're poor, don't tell people. If you tell people you're poor, your friends are going to leave. Your family is going to leave. Your children are running out. You go to try and carry your children, they are going to run away. Because you know, daddy is poor. Mommy is very poor. So try to dress smartly so that, you know, you kind of cover up your poverty. But sometimes, at the same time, you need to actually face the real world if you're poor. Try to plan your life more, plan your finances more, work harder, and save more money. Try to think a little thing to invest in. Think of Jeff Bezos. Think of Jeff Bezos, how he makes his wealth. Just think about him. You never know. You may wake up in the morning with brilliant ideas, and you can start a small project, very little project, and in 6 months you will start making money. You don't know. Just try. Don't being in poverty. Don't tell people you're poor. Never ever tell people you're poor. They're going to run away. Africans are rejected in Africa. If we talk about illegal immigrants, the first suspects are black people from Africa, because everybody knows they're poor. They're coming to get wealth. They're coming to get wealth from rich countries. And the Conservative Party knows that psychology. They know that dynamic. Every time there's election, they talk about immigration. Boat people, illegal boat people. Of course, these are actually people who are dying at sea. They're not even reaching Britain. If they reach Britain, they are so weak. Some of them need medical attention. They suffer and suffer and suffer. The Conservative Party should not have been using boat people who crosses illegally, although they cross illegally. And illegality actually depends on the law. The law set by the British government. Tomorrow, if they change the law, then the same boat crossers will be crossing legally. It is no issue except for political propaganda. The Conservatives are not racist. They are just politicians. We don't say the Conservatives, I mean politicians. They are strategists. They know people fear foreigners. There's something called xenophobia. The British people are so scared of foreigners. Especially black people from Jamaica, the ones from Africa, because obviously they're going to take our wealth. Even black people living abroad do not want black people coming from abroad, from Africa to... I don't know. What are they going to do? They're going to steal all the money. Poor people are going to get poorer. The cost of living is going to go worse. It's so toxic. And it is not true. Because these people are not going to do anything, even if they come. There's a risk, because they can't even afford to come to Britain. It is a myth that Africans are coming to Europe. They are not. They don't have money to even buy. I mean, they don't even have money to pay for a taxi, or even just... Africa, when they are poor, they're so poor, but there are a lot of rich people in Africa anyway. These days, there are so many rich people in Africa, and we don't talk about them. They are allowed to come here, actually. Wealthy people, multi-billionaires, are allowed to come to Britain. They are not even talked about. They are not regarded as being... I mean, even they come here legal, nobody's going to talk about it. They like rich people. I mean, we live in a world where if you're rich, people, everybody like you. Even the dog barks using your name. The dog barks with your name. They love you. They love rich people. People like Jeff Bezos are loved. It doesn't matter what they do. Even if they do something really, really nasty, people still like them. Because people like money. People like wealth. People like celebrities. And that's the world we live in. So, I'm looking at Jeff Bezos. You watch my other video. If you haven't subscribed to this one, subscribe to my channel. And if you like my videos like this, subscribe to my channel. And leave a comment below. Ring a notification bell so that you don't miss anything I post. You don't miss my video. Talk about Jeff Bezos, the richest man on earth, multi-billionaire in US dollar, hundreds of billions of US dollar. Jeff Bezos, we talk about him. We talk about Amazon. He owns Amazon, and he owns several other projects. Because he's rich, he affects the cost of living. That's why I'm talking about him. So, looking at different incidences involving Jeff Bezos, for example, what happened in Saudi Arabia, something called Saudi hacking claim. When you hack into a computer, I don't know what you can hack into. You can hack into information. You steal information. It's criminal activity, actually. So there were actually claims over hacking in Saudi Arabia. and Jeff Bezos' phone was allegedly hacked. They want to sabotage important people like Jeff Bezos. They hacked their phones. In March 2018, Bezos met in Seattle with Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince and de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia, to discuss investment opportunities for Saudi Vision 2030. That is the story involving the Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince and de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia, to discuss investment opportunities for Saudi Vision 2030. The Saudi prince are actually hereditary in the line of the throne of Saudi Arabia. They actually inherit the throne like the royal family in Britain, except in Saudi Arabia they have executive power, whereas in Britain the royal family actually has ceremonial power, influence. They don't have any constitutional power to rule in the executive sense of the word, but they have ceremonial influence. And in Saudi Arabia, individual prince like Mohammed bin Salman, who is actually a crown prince, he is a de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia to discuss, and he was there to discuss investment opportunities with Jeff Bezos in so far as something called Saudi Vision 2030. So that is the story, that is the background, and what follows. In March 2019, Bezos' scrutiny security consultant accused the Saudi government of hacking Bezos' phone. So the security consultant accused the Saudi government of hacking Bezos' phone. According to the BBC, Bezos' top security staffer, Gavin De Becker, linked the hack to the Washington Post's coverage of the murder of Saudi writer Jamal Khashoggi at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. It was allegedly a revenge reaction, because the Washington Post, which is actually owned by Jeff Bezos, was allegedly linked. It was actually linked to the let's say linked to the hack to the Washington Post coverage of the murder of Saudi writer. So the Washington Post was actually covering the murder of Saudi writer Jamal Khashoggi at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, in Turkey. Now, that remained on the news for a very long time. Who killed him? Was assassinated, actually. Watch it on the news many years ago. Khashoggi, a Saudi journalist and dissident, was employed as a writer at the Washington Post, owned by Bezos. So actually, he was actually an employee of Washington Post, and was employed by Bezos, because Bezos he owns the Washington Post. So the Khashoggi actually was an employee of Jeff Bezos via the Washington Post. Khashoggi was killed in late 2018 in Turkey's Saudi consulate for his critical stance and journalism against the Saudi government and its leader. So that was actually the background, because he was critical of the ruling dynasty in Saudi Arabia. In January 2020, The Guardian reported that the hack was initiated before the murder, but Khashoggi wrote critically about the crown prince in the Washington Post. So, forensic analysis of Bezos' mobile phone conducted by advisory firm FTI Consulting concluded it highly probable that the hack was achieved using a malicious file hidden in a video sent in a WhatsApp message to Bezos from the personal account of the Crown Prince on May 1st, 2018. Arabia has denied the claim. Saudi Arabia has denied the claim. That is part of the stories surrounding the life of Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is a philanthropist. Philanthropy means he gives. He's a giver. He gives different things. For example, Jeff Bezos funded the retrieval of a certain F1 engine parts from the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean in 2015, eventually donating them to the Seattle Museum of Flight. He's interested in space flight. So when um, when actually a shuttle, a space shuttle, which crashed actually at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, Jeff Bezos actually donated money for it to be recovered, and he donated it to the Seattle uh, Museum of Flight. They are from Apollo 16 above uh, uh, the Apollo 12 below. And so the Apollo program, Apollo 16 and Apollo flight 12, those are actually some of the materials he recovered, helped to recover from the bottom of the sea when it crashed. Bezos donated to the Phil Atkinson Cancer Research Center several times between 2009 and 2017. Fred Atkinson Cancer Center, Cancer Research Center, which is a good thing. It helps in dealing with the problem of cancer. In 2013, he pledged 500,000 US dollar to World Reader, a non-profit founded by a former Amazon employee. So if you're actually an inventor, if he likes you, if you're doing the kind of project he's interested in, such as this one, World Reader, I don't know what it is, but it was a non-profit, which is a non-profit is not a common project taking place under the modern economic system, and is funded by philanthropists like Jeff Bezos. It might also be funded by the government, but commonly it's funded by philanthropists. So if you're interested in such a thing, do a research on philanthropy funding and start a non-profit foundation and create a job for yourself and also contribute to a cause you value. But be careful, because you have to study these millionaires and understand what they like. And maybe if you're lucky, they can finance your project. In September 2018, Business Insider reported that Bezos was the only one of the top 5 billionaires in the world who had not signed the Giving Pledge, an initiative created by Bill Gates and Warren Buffett that encourages wealthy people to give away a majority of their wealth. So some wealthy people actually have pledged, like Bill Gates, for example, has pledged to, and Warren Buffett have pledged to give away the majority of their wealth. It's called the Giving Pledge. And if you comment below if you know what a Giving Pledge is. But it's a program, I think, initiated by Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, and they were accusing Jeff Bezos as the only one of the top 5 billionaires in the world who are not signed to give pledge. So to Giving Pledge. Giving Pledge is an initiative created by Bill Gates and Warren Buffett that encourages wealthy people to give away a majority of their wealth. So signing doesn't mean they're going to give it, but it actually encourages wealthy people to give away their money. How they give away their wealth is a matter of detail. That same month, Janet Camarena, director of Transparency Initiative initiative at Foundation Center, was quoted by CNBC is having questions about Bezos' new Day One fund, including the fund's structure and how exactly it will be funded. So there are some controversies really going on surrounding Jeff Bezos. In May 2017, Jeff Bezos gave $1 million to the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press, which provide pro bono legal services for American journalists. So these are actually infrastructures to support journalists, freedom of speech, free press, freedom of the press, which actually give legal support to the institutions. On June the 15th, 2017, he posted a message on Twitter asking for ideas for philanthropy. I'm thinking about a philanthropy strategy that is the opposite of how I mostly spend my time working on long term. At the time of the post, Bezos' lifetime spending on charitable causes was estimated to be 100 million US dollar. Multiple opinion columnists responded by asking Bezos to pay higher wages to Amazon warehouse workers. He does not pay his employees well, but instead he gives money to charities. Charitable giving is a form of capitalism. Because when they give money, they actually invest the money mainly in capital and infrastructural building. So, in as much as it sounds really nice that they're giving money, they give it to institutions, so they actually don't give it to people. And if you pay close attention to those charities, you find that what they're doing, because they are non-profit and they are private also, they are actually accumulating wealth for themselves. So it is a way of circulating wealth between a certain class of people, the ruling class. And generally, the attitude of rich people are not to help people financially or actually to help them in any way at all. So the idea of charity is actually false in that sense, in the sense that research is actually you get information. It doesn't mean that once you get the answer to cancer, you are going to help poor people or the majority of the population. Probably just that they are in an interest-based kind of philanthropy. Cancer research, when they get the treatment, they only give it to the rich and not the poor. And he explains why they spend a lot of money on philanthropy, on actually funding institution, organization, normally big and wealthy organizations anyway, instead of paying their employees well. They don't actually pay their employees well. This is a contradiction in terms. And and a year later in June, he tweeted that he would announce two philanthropic foci by the end of summer 2018. Bezos announced in September 2018 that he would submit approximately $2 billion to a fund to deal with American homelessness and establish a network of non-profit preschools. Establish a network of non-profit preschools for low-income communities. Why don't you pay your employees well and instead worry about some obscure homelessness? And when they give money to homelessness projects, they're actually building capital in infrastructure. And in practice, people will not actually access housing. They don't. Because, they build capital, property, they just accumulate wealth. And for example, I'll give you an example. If they make it so difficult to access this housing will be there to hold wealth. They will be holding wealth using charities, building capital, just pumping money into charities. and they don't have anybody, because if they were helping anybody, they should have actually been paying people well in the first place. If Jeff Bezos was actually serious about doing charity, he would buy a house for all the employees working. I mean, if you work for Jeff Bezos, potentially he can buy you a house. He can buy you, I don't know what else he can buy, a car. Forget about car. Let Jeff Bezos buy a house for all his employees. It doesn't matter even if they're sweepers, they're cleaners, they're babysitters, the porters, the gatekeepers. Buy a house for them, at least 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom for your employee, and give it to them for free. If you are really serious, any rich person who is serious, start with your employee, start with your family, your relatives. Some of these wealthy people don't even help their siblings, their cousins. Start helping them. Don't pour money into some funny institutions, pouring money there, holding money there. It's a way of actually hiding their money. I don't believe this giving by multi-billionaires is genuine. It's false. It's false economy. It's actually a form of corrupt practices. As part of this announcement, he committed to establishing the Day One Families Fund to finance night shelters and daycare centers for homeless families, and the Day One Academies Fund for early childhood education. Now, if you want to help in homeless, like I said, start paying school fees for your employees, for your family, for your best friends, before you start investing money in an organization. Because this organization are normally they don't help people. They just pile money there. They build houses. They sometimes even build private property behind the scene and start renting out privately. Hiding behind charity. It's happening now. There are social housing created by the Conservative Party to replace council housing. The Housing Association, created by Margaret Thatcher, former British Prime Minister. And Housing Association actually withdrew the right to buy. So if you're in a housing association, social housing, you lose the right to buy your property. That was created by Margaret Thatcher, former Conservative Party, a capitalist in the classical sense. So they don't do that. See, they just want to play tricks with people. The poor public money and the money Jeff Bezos play with, actually taxpayers' money, given to him by the state. He uses private companies to transfer public money to private individuals. They don't hand those money. They give them free contracts, tens of billions of state contracts given to Jeff Bezos on defense project, defense program, and defense for what? Nothing. They just recycle the money within the state infrastructure, so the money doesn't trickle down the economy. As part of that is trying to you pay school fees for your workers first, pay them decently, buy them houses, and buy them cars so that they can let them work 3 days a week so that they spend more time with their families. Start the charity from home, from Amazon, from your employees. Work, treat them well. You don't treat, if you watch the other videos, I show how Bezos is said to have been so nasty, so uncaring to his employees, and then now you pretend to be doing charity. Fake. In January 2018, Bezos made a $33 million donation to the Dream.US, a college scholarship fund for undocumented immigrants brought to the United States as minors. Now, this information may not be very clear, but college scholarship fund for undocumented immigrants brought to the United States as minors. In June 2018, Bezos donated to Breakthrough Energy Ventures, a private philanthropic fund funded by Bill Gates, aimed at promoting emission-free energy. So, characteristically, they are more concerned about clean climate, which is good, at the expense of the poor being prevented from accessing livelihood. Basically, that's it. Because this green climate campaigners actually literally they're telling the government not to invest in the economy. And investment is important. Economic growth and distribution of wealth is important for alleviating poverty, to dealing with social inequality, which is actually a major problem now in a capitalist society. And this is something I believe need addressing. And we can do emission-free energy. But if poor people cannot access it, the majority of the population cannot access it, you are creating a perfect world for the few and not for the many. That is false. In September 2018, Bezos donated 10 million US dollars to With Honor, a non-partisan organization that works to increase the number of veterans in political office. These are some of the charities. The profiling actually speak for itself. Veterans in political office, to increase the number of veterans in political office. In February 2020, Bezos pledged a 10 million US dollars to combat climate change through the Bezos Health Fund. So you see, they want something to do with the environment. They don't talk about people. They only talk about things, technology, research, housing, schools, which is good. But they never talk about people. How are you going to help people? Later that year, in November, Bezos announced 791 million of donation to establish well-known groups with 100 million each, $100 million each, going to Environmental Defense Fund, Natural Resources Defense Council, and the Nature Conservancy, World Resources Institute, and World Wildlife Fund, and and the remainder going to 11 other groups. So they're not talking about people, they talk about the environment, they talk about research, they talk about development, they talk about wealth only. These are actually the kind of money they give. Otherwise, they would be giving money to their employee, to their family, to their friends, not really giving money, buying them houses, sending people to children to school, improving healthcare services for everyone, but they don't do that. They do only capital investment. They don't do services. In April 2020, early in the COVID-19 pandemic, Bezos donated 100 million US dollars to food banks through Feeding America. America should not be given food bank. America should be given money, should be given jobs. Jeff Bezos should be creating jobs. If not, he should be creating a welfare money pot to give money to Americans if he wants to help Americans. You don't give food vouchers, and you don't give food to people to control them. What if you withdraw it? You put an investment that actually promote the welfare system. Invest money in a project which generates wealth. Give part of your wealth every year to a welfare instrument which actually give money, cash to people, to help people who are actually poor. If you really want to help, all the billionaires should do that. Stop opening food bank. Food bank is an insult. You created inequalities, you created poverty by being unjust, by being cruel, and now you are adding insult to injury by creating food bank. Food bank is an insult to the world. The government, the private and public government, like the one of Bezos, American government, should shut food bank down. The voucher system should stop. People should be given money so that they can control their life. We don't insist on controlling the life of everyone. Bezos, in November 2021, Bezos pledged to donate 2 billion US dollars toward restructuring food systems and nature conservation at the 2021 United Nations Climate Change Conference. Food system is actually infrastructural, is capitalistic. We don't want food systems. We want farmers to produce enough food. We want actually Jeff Bezos to create supermarkets which give free food. Not even food banks. We don't need food banks. We need actually supermarkets which sell food at affordable prices. Actually, if you're going to give vouchers to organizations, give support directly to food companies, so that people on low income should come to the market and take food for free. Bezos Academy is a group of tuition-free preschools for students from low-income families, which was created by Bezos and which operate in a manner similar to Montessori method. Montessori method is something I don't know, but you can only guess that this is actually institutional building, is capitalism, and there's no evidence that the service sector will actually be enough. And what kind of family they talk about, and this actually should have been done by the government. Now, private companies should not do it because they don't do it very well. In November 2022, Bezos granted 100,000 million courage and civility award to singer Dolly Parton in recognition of our charity work focus on improving children's literacy around the world. They do charity, all right. Literacy is all right. But it has to be done by the government, not by private companies. And so because the reason the government is not doing it, because the government is shutting down, selling the country away to wealthy people. Wealthy people are just deceiving people by doing charity. They don't. If they were doing charity, the result would be there. I mean, going to Africa, for example, to do charity there, and send aid workers who live in luxury apartments. They go on holiday. And there are so many poor people. The condition of poor people doesn't change. There are always excuses. There are wars. And you go to Africa to help people there. Help people to grow food on land. Help people to register land. The government in Africa are now wanting to the people to register their land. Help people to register their land. On November 2022, Jeff Bezos awarded 123 million to organizations that are engaged in relocating homeless families to permanent housing. Now, if children are homeless and you are relocating them, I don't know what that one means. They want families, fund grants, the amount of which vary in modern times. In modern terms, will be sent to 40 organizations across the country. So, as you can see, they do philanthropy, which is good, but in a sense, we want actually them to help people to do things for themselves, and helping children and you see and organizations actually helping people who are poor. It's a bad sign because the way charities should operate, they should actually operate to empower families to work less. If people work for you, if you're an Amazonian owner like Jeff Bezos, and people are actually working for you, you pay them well, you support families working for you first before going around, running around, getting publicity and pouring money into organizations which actually build capital. Because they build capital, their aim is to build wealth. They use charities to hide their money. And if they wanted to help people, they would start from helping their employees. Employees are working long hours and they are not paid well, and their families are unsupported. They are poor. they are insulted, they are abused. An abuser cannot be a charity giver. So that's why the government should start taxing wealthy people. The government has a legal duty, a political obligation to help the people of the world. They should not hand over this responsibility to private companies who do not. They just use charities as a cover. A cover, they build this thing to actually help to hide their money. The money do not reach people. The aim is actually to make people suffer. There's a conspiracy to rule. There's a conspiracy to destroy. There's a conspiracy to kill. And because if there isn't, then people should access food. People should access energy. People should access employment. They should access income, decent income. People should work less hours. They should retire early. And citizens should retire at 50 years. And the government should pay them decent pension. The amount of pension should not be taxed. Like the Conservative Party now is actually, the bill is now going through Parliament because the Conservative Party has a majority. They're going to force the bill through the House of Commons. It's going to be low. Pensions are going to be taxed. Pensions are already low. And now, in 2018, the Conservative government changed state policy law in which actually you have to work for, you need to have worked for, I think, 10 years before even getting pension. That is wrong because there should be one pension, state pension, whether you work or you don't work. You should get it, and it shouldn't be means tested. If you have your money, you have your little money because the level of if they want pension to be means tested, state pension is not means tested, but there are other aspects of pension which should be scrapped. There should be one state pension which are not means tested, and the level should increase, not decrease. It should not be taxed. And you need something like, let's say, £500 per week. You need about £2,000 in pension, not less, and it should not be taxed. And accessing it should be easy. And people should not have to apply to get pension. People shouldn't claim pension. When you retire, you should be paid immediately. People are losing pension now because they don't know they should claim it. If you don't claim it in time, you have only 1 month, I think, perhaps 3 months. If you pass a deadline, you're going to lose pension. And there should be lump sum also, maybe 10,000, 50,000. If you retire, the government pay you £50,000 to give you a head start to retire. You have served the country. And if you work for only 1 day, you should get for the full state pension. At the moment, you need to have worked for 35 years to get state pension. If not, you only get a lower rate. And that should change. There should be only one pension, state pension, and private pension should be for multimillionaires and multi-billionaires if they want it. The rest of people who work for a living should have state pension. The rest of the population who do not work should have state pension. Thank you for watching my video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. This is the end of looking at Jeff Bezos. The next person I want to look at is Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the second richest man in the world. He's number 2 after Bernard Arnault of France, who is number 1. I'll look at those 3 and then I'll move on to something else. Thank you for your help. Good night. Bye-bye.